Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, led by Frédéric Vasseur. Does that sound like an explosive combination? Wait until we tell you about the new team being built in Maranello. Ferrari is perhaps the most unique team in all of Formula One. Not only is it the oldest team, having been founded in 1929, but it is also one of the most, if not the most, iconic in the sport. Ferrari has won 16 Constructors' Championships, 15 Drivers' Championships, and 248 Grand Prix races, far more than Williams and McLaren, which have only 9 championships each. Ferrari also outshines the new teams, now known as the Titans of Formula One, like Mercedes and Red Bull. So to understand what lies ahead for the 2025 and 2026 seasons, we need to look back at where we came from with the iconic Prancing Horse team. Even though we have seen periods of dominance, like 7 consecutive years by the Silver Arrows or 2 out of 4 years by Red Bull, nothing compares to Ferrari's achievements. With unforgettable and legendary drivers, Ferrari has written its name in history in golden letters. Alberto Ascari, Juan Manuel Fangio, Niki Lauda, Jody Scheckter, Gilles Villeneuve, Alain Prost, Nigel Mansell, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, and the impressive Michael Schumacher, to name just a few. So join us as we reveal what lies behind the scenes at Scuderia Ferrari. Let's get started. Although Ferrari hasn't won a championship in recent years, they have always been there, fighting with the top teams and looking for any chance to break through. This constant struggle might have worn them out as a new team, but we are talking about Ferrari. Unfortunately, since the start of the hybrid era, they have fought hard to stay among the leaders, and neither Maurizio Arrivabene nor Mattia Binotto could take the titles away from Mercedes and Red Bull. In 2019, everything pointed to the newly promoted team principal, Mattia Binotto, who replaced Arrivabene. He was expected to improve the situation of the team, which was in crisis after not getting the 2014 regulation changes right that marked the start of the hybrid era. Arrivabene stepped aside in 2019 to make way for Binotto, despite having a fresh graduate from Alfa Romeo and the rising sensation Charles Leclerc, along with a 4-time champion like Sebastian Vettel to complete the driver pairing. Binotto couldn't unlock the team's full potential. Many accused the Italo-Swiss director of having a rather lukewarm approach. His critics felt he lacked the rigidity and competitive drive needed to bring Ferrari back to the top. Former French driver René Arnoux, who raced for Ferrari from 1983 to 1985, commented, "The mistakes he made are unforgivable. I have never been on Binotto's side. Someone who says, 'Next year will be better,' does not deserve to lead Ferrari. I would have replaced him a long time ago." In the face of very visible strategic errors that ruined his drivers' races. For Arnoux, you must win first and then think about next year, not use that as an excuse for reliability and strategic failures. So, even though there was some improvement after he took charge, becoming runners-up, improving their wind tunnel, and enhancing the power unit under his direction, it is undeniable that the development curve slowed down considerably. Even his smart move of signing Carlos Sainz Jr., choosing him over Sebastian Vettel, couldn't fully help the team. For many, Binotto's relaxed mentality did more harm than good to the Scuderia. That is why, in the change from the 2022 to the 2023 season, Binotto was replaced and a new team principal arrived. In a display of humility, Binotto argued that although he had helped design Ferrari's 2023 car, if the team succeeded, it wouldn't be thanks to him alone, but to the entire team working together. His successor, ushering in a new phase of restructuring in Maranello, was none other than Frédéric Vasseur. We are delighted to welcome Fred Vasseur to Ferrari as our team principal. Throughout his career, he has successfully combined his technical strengths as an engineer with his constant ability to bring out the best in his drivers and teams. This approach and his leadership are exactly what we need to push Ferrari forward with renewed energy, said Benedetto Vigna, CEO of Ferrari, when welcoming Vasseur to the team. But who is Frédéric Vasseur, and why is his joining the Maranello team so important? So let's talk about the French engineer, who is now the team principal of the Scuderia.
This season, and we have to be ready from day one, but the mood is positive, the energy is there, and we are all very focused.
Born on May 28, 1968, in Draveil, France, Frédéric Vasseur began his career with a strong background in mechanical engineering from the prestigious French school École supérieure des techniques aéronautiques et de construction automobile. His passion for motors drove him to create the ASM team in 1996, with support from Renault. The team quickly gained attention, and in 1998, Vasseur became the champion of the French Formula 3 Championship, a title that marked the start of his rapid rise in motorsport. Over the years, he also worked with Mercedes-Benz, which was key to his success in the Formula 3 Euro Series. Between 2004 and 2007, Vasseur led his team to win the championship. During this time, he also mentored a young Lewis Hamilton, who later became a true titan in the sport. Vasseur played an important role in training the British driver as he moved up through the junior categories. In 2004, Vasseur joined forces with Nicolas Todt to create the ART Grand Prix team. This team shone in various categories like GP2, GP3, and Formula 3.5, winning titles and playing a key role in the careers of many famous drivers, including Charles Leclerc, who made his leap to Formula 1 in 2018. Vasseur's relationship with Leclerc was very important, first at ART and later at Sauber, where they worked together in 2018, a crucial year for the Monegasque driver. During that season, Leclerc showed his talent by earning his first Formula 1 podium and establishing himself as one of motorsport's great rising stars. 2016, Vasseur took his first major step in Formula 1 by joining Renault as team principal. Although his time with the team was brief, he left a positive mark with his pragmatic approach and his ability to improve the team's performance. However, due to differences with managing director Cyril Abiteboul, Vasseur left Renault the following year. In mid-2017, Vasseur joined Sauber, where he found the perfect platform to demonstrate his leadership skills. Under his direction, the team made a remarkable improvement, finishing 6th in the Constructors' Championship in 2022, Sauber's best performance in the last decade. These achievements led Ferrari to hire him. I am truly delighted and honored to take on the role of team principal of Scuderia Ferrari. As someone who has always been passionate about motorsport, Ferrari has always represented the pinnacle of racing for me. I look forward to working with the talented and passionate team in Maranello to honor the history and heritage of Scuderia Ferrari and to meet the expectations of our tifosi around the world, he said. Now facing the challenge of competing against giants like Red Bull and Mercedes, Vasseur faces the biggest test of his career. His track record shows that he is more than capable of meeting this challenge. He has proven himself as an excellent mentor and developer of drivers, as well as a skilled manager and organizer of the technical talents that have made the teams he has led so successful. This is the profile of a leader who, with vision and determination, is ready to write a new chapter in Ferrari's history. Fred joined at a time when the engines in the category were frozen, following the debate sparked by Red Bull. After the COVID-19 pandemic, teams saw that new regulations for 2024 were coming soon, but they had to be delayed until 2026. This made it the perfect season for Vasseur to begin restructuring the team. Some people, loyal to Binotto, even chose to leave Vasseur's project. For example, the head of aerodynamics, David Sanchez, the new team principal, discovered that the 2023 car was already finished, so he could not influence the development of that model, which would be used for the entire season. As a result, for the SF23, he only supervised the guidance and development of any needed improvements and focused on developing the car for 2024. Another issue he encountered was that both drivers he had, despite the good relationship within the team, are relatively young. Both have shown themselves to be good strategists, as giving more responsibility to Leclerc and Sainz during Binotto's time improved the team's race strategies. However, although they are excellent drivers, they have not yet become development drivers. This means they do not yet provide enough additional feedback to the engineers to speed up the car's development. Even so, Vasseur found a team in good shape from which to start his project, and he began by hiring new technical staff. Thus, Vasseur faced the challenge not only of addressing the team's shortcomings, but also of strengthening its squad. He began making moves that reassured Ferrari's top figures. The first thing Frédéric did was to fix the internal structure after the departure of key figures such as David Sanchez and even Laurent Mekies, who had served as racing director at Ferrari. To fill that gap, he promoted Italian engineer Diego Laverno, who had previously worked as Ferrari's sporting director and later as chief vehicle operations engineer. bringing him straight from the factory back to the pit wall. Meanwhile, Ferrari's chief engineer David Sanchez was replaced by Fabio Montecchi, who had been the deputy head of design and then became the acting chief engineer in charge of new projects. Fred made these internal adjustments while simultaneously negotiating new hires for the technical team. Initially, he planned for 30 new signings, but that number grew to 80 over the course of 2023, half of which were experienced professionals from the motorsport world and the other half young talents, giving Maranello a fresh and updated perspective. Some of these new hires could not start immediately due to the gardening leave period required when changing teams. This waiting period, agreed upon between the current employer and the new team, is designed to protect crucial information about their previous squad. Knowing that the new recruits would strengthen the Scuderia after this period, Fred acted quickly. Aware that prompt action was crucial, he then announced the signing of Jerome D'Ambrosio, a former Formula One driver who had been in charge of the driver academy at Mercedes, and who would now become the deputy team principal for the Italian team. Additionally, he secured the services of French engineer Loic Serra, who had previously served as performance director at Mercedes, stealing him to begin his role at Ferrari as head of engineering. Serra will oversee the development of the chassis, track engineering, aerodynamic development, and operations. For the 2024 season, it was announced that Enrico Cardile, who had been Ferrari's head of aerodynamics and design, was leaving the team. Immediately, Frederick filled that important gap by promoting aerospace engineer Diego Tondi to chief engineer, responsible for supervising the aerodynamic department. Tondi will manage Loic Biguat, an aerodynamicist from Mercedes, who will now report directly to Tondi and Vasseur, supported by Frank Sanchez, formerly of Sauber and AlphaTauri, along with 5 young engineers who will handle aerodynamics and wind tunnel work. But Vasseur didn't stop at recruiting key figures from Mercedes. He made a major move by also bringing in important personnel from Red Bull. Early in 2023, there were rumors of 2 key signings from Milton Keynes, and eventually one of those names was confirmed to be Enrico Balbo. Under Newey's guidance, Balbo was responsible for developing the famous DRS that gave the Bulls a significant advantage in races, and he would now work with the design and aerodynamics team in Maranello. With this signing, it was mentioned that Vasseur tried to negotiate a shorter gardening leave for Balbo, using the departure of Laurent Mekies to AlphaTauri as leverage. But Balbo had access to more crucial information than Mekies had at Ferrari at the time, so that deal did not work out. Finally, for the 2024 season, there was another promotion within Ferrari. Enrico Gualtieri, who had been with the team since 2020, was promoted from the performance team to become the new technical director of the power unit. In this way, Fred reinforced the core of the organization by recognizing the potential of the talent that had been underutilized within the institution, and by infusing fresh blood into the technical side, both in the factory and on the track. Thus, Vasseur also enhanced the areas where Binotto had already begun the restructuring, reinforcing the entire design and development structure to support the aerodynamic department. This move was aimed at gaining those crucial fractions of performance needed to catch up with McLaren and Red Bull and to continue holding an advantage over Mercedes and Aston Martin in several areas. For example, consider the new wind tunnel in Maranello. Thanks to Binotto, they have it, but not with the right personnel to generate and interpret its data. Similarly, they will be strengthened with fresh talent to improve the physics and other dynamics of what is now, thanks to Binotto, the best simulator in all of Formula One, also located in Maranello. For this reason, Vasseur assured from 2023 that the design developments in the SF23 and SF24 cars wouldn't be very substantial during the restructuring years, as they were working on the basis of the car that Binotto had already built and fully designed. Starting with the 2024 season, when Fred could take full control of the project, new developments and ideas would be introduced to start testing in the SF25, in preparation for the new 2026 regulations. According to this plan, it is possible that even in the 2025 season, we will see a conservative car design with a few risky implementations. But we know that Vasseur's mindset is entirely focused on dominating the next era of Formula One, an era where DRS will disappear and the cars will feature dynamic wings. Now it's time to talk about the 2 strongest weapons that the Scuderia will have for 2025. First, let's mention Charles Leclerc, who, although he was already fighting for pole positions and wins for Ferrari and delighting the Tifosi, now shows some differences compared to before. It has been a long journey for the Monegasque driver since his debut in Formula One. Although he already knew Vasseur from the lower categories, his reunion with him at Alfa Romeo in his debut year, 2018, allowed him to earn his first points, and together they played a part in rescuing the team. That year, Leclerc managed to score 23 points, an impressive achievement for a rookie, especially considering he was driving for a team that had already fallen to the bottom of the constructors' table. As a rookie, he finished 13th in the Drivers' Championship, which led Ferrari to consider signing him immediately the following year. And as we all know, Sauber Alfa Romeo, being a customer team of Ferrari, is also supported by drivers from its own academy, similar to the relationships seen with teams like Mercedes and Williams, or Red Bull and the current V-Carb. When Leclerc made his debut with Ferrari in 2019, he became teammates with Sebastian Vettel, who had fought for the championship the previous year alongside Hamilton, helping guide Ferrari to a runner-up finish. Leclerc consistently finished in the points, earned his first podiums, and even secured wins in Belgium and Italy to the delight of the Tifosi, finishing ahead of his teammate Vettel. However, the following year, 2020, saw a marked drop in performance for the Scuderia. This decline may have affected the Monegasque's motivation. Although he continued to outperform his teammate, finishing 8th in the championship, while the German ended up 13th, Charles's attitude changed, and he seemed to lose some of his spark. The team was somewhat refreshed with the arrival of Sainz in 2021, but Leclerc's mindset did not improve as he began to be outperformed by the Spanish driver. The driver pairing demanded better results from Binotto's management, and by 2022, they did manage to achieve some success. Leclerc even managed to finish as the runner-up, but even with that achievement, he was seen struggling to reach his full potential as, despite having already spent 5 seasons in F1, he still made rookie mistakes when other cars closed in on him or when he pushed the car too hard in qualifying. But when the 2023 season arrived, and with it, Vasseur joining the team, Leclerc seemed calm again. He appeared relaxed and more mature, and his mistakes decreased. His pole positions and race results were not only better than the previous year, they were more consistent. In other words, he achieved his results with more confidence, no longer desperate to prove himself or chase good results at the expense of burning opportunities. Meanwhile, Sainz also shined by rising to the challenge of racing alongside Leclerc, who had been considered the team's #1 driver during both Binotto's and Vasseur's periods. Sainz was always a benchmark for the Monegasque because the Spanish driver consistently met every challenge, even winning races while just recovering from an appendectomy. Leclerc knew he could not take his position for granted with such a driver by his side. Furthermore, in the following 2 years, 2023 and 2024, Charles outperformed Sainz in the drivers' standings, finishing 5th in 2023 compared to Sainz's 7th, and 3rd in 2024 after battling for 2nd place with Norris, while Sainz ended in 5th. In short, the fact that Vasseur and Leclerc had known each other for a long time, and that Charles was so adaptable under Fred's guidance, is what allowed the Monegasque to remain ahead within the team over the Spanish driver, who also has undeniable talent. However, Sainz's departure was never an option. Vasseur believed that the team already had one of the strongest driver pairings on the grid, and he knew the potential of the Spanish driver. Meanwhile, Mercedes' poor performance, caused by their zero-pod experiment during the seasons with the new regulations to enhance ground effect, covering 2022 and 2023, weakened Lewis Hamilton's loyalty to the Silver Arrows. These signs of discomfort from the British driver prompted Vasseur to cast a line and see what he could catch. When he received a positive response from this flirtation between Ferrari and the Hammer, he immediately began talks to bring the 7-time champion to Maranello. So at the start of the 2024 season, before pre-season tests began, Hamilton announced his signing with Ferrari to the world. The reasons for this early announcement remain unclear, but the British driver had to suffer within his current team during the entire 2024 season. He was sidelined and naturally excluded from the development meetings for the next year's car and from strategic sessions. Mercedes practically felt as if they were now sleeping with the enemy. In the end, the decline in performance of the Silver Arrows played a major part. Hamilton also stated that every Formula One driver dreams of racing for Ferrari at some point in their career, and he was about to fulfill that dream. We can also add that Vasseur had known Hamilton from his days in the junior categories, which must have worked in his favor. We don't know what kind of charisma Fred has to earn the trust of the drivers, but it must be overwhelming. Lewis has already had his first tests in various Ferrari cars during the Pirelli tyre tests and the TPCs, tests with previous cars, logging many kilometers to become familiar not only with the cars but with the entire Ferrari system. Despite a slight stumble, a minor collision that caused no major issues, Lewis is very excited, even though he already feels the weight of the team on his shoulders, especially when facing the passionate red tide of the Tifosi. Hamilton described all of this as overwhelming. Vasseur is pleased and confident that Hamilton and Leclerc will form an excellent pairing, because if they work well together, they will be the strongest confirmed duo on the grid in 2025. The hard truth is that now Ferrari is fully armed from head to toe, covering every area thanks to Vasseur's strategic genius. With the 2025 season on the horizon, we can expect that after studying possible improvements for the 2026 car, those changes will be tested on the 2025 car. By regulation, teams can only begin designing and developing the 2026 car once the 2025 season has started. This rule prevents any team from gaining an unfair advantage, as regulation changes are announced well in advance. The new regulations call for changes not only in the structure and design of the cars from an aerodynamic perspective, where DRS will disappear and be replaced by dynamic wings, and the cars will be smaller and lighter, but also in the distribution of power. Currently, around 70 to 75% of the power comes from the internal combustion engine and 25 to 30% from the electric motor. In an effort to make these cars more sustainable, the new rules will require a 50-50 power split. This is where Hamilton's inclusion in Ferrari becomes crucial. He is one of the few drivers on the grid who, thanks to his experience, now speaks the engineer's language by offering valuable, reliable feedback. He can now be considered a development driver, one of the key pieces that Vasseur still needed on his board. This feedback will help reduce reliability issues, as the driver's insights can be critical in controlling wear and accelerating improvements to each system in the car. Every package of improvements that is implemented will truly make a difference in handling, cornering performance, and top speed. This is a major advantage that any development driver can offer, though many may not fully appreciate its value. Vasseur, with his long and varied experience across multiple categories, certainly knows how to value this. He also understands the strengths of both Lewis and Charles. Lewis is a natural driver who extracts the best performance from any car he drives, and Leclerc, now more mature and meticulous, delivers nearly flawless drives that have earned him numerous pole positions. Both drivers are fierce when attacking and careful when defending. It's very likely that by consistently extracting the maximum potential from Ferrari's future cars, we'll see them finish very close to the front and close together in the standings. This would allow the team to play with strategies more effectively and support each other, much like we have seen in previous years between Leclerc and Sainz. In short, Ferrari will be able to secure victories more easily. However, this nearly impenetrable setup leaves one small loose end, a point that might still be debated. What will happen with the controversy that the media keeps stoking? Who will be Ferrari's #1 driver? Many say that Hamilton always includes a clause in his contracts stating that he will join any team as their first driver, but that's just an urban legend. We must once again trust in Vasseur's charisma and in the ability of the technical and tactical team to manage their drivers' talents effectively, so we don't see another ego war between two highly gifted drivers, like when Hamilton clashed with Alonso at McLaren, or when Mercedes couldn't manage the rivalry between Hamilton and Russell, or the chaos at Red Bull with Ricciardo, once a highly promising driver, being pitted against Verstappen due to poor team decisions. In the case of Ferrari, we have seen that the atmosphere between Charles and Carlos only turned tense on a few occasions, and the drivers have always been willing to work as a team. If Vasseur manages the talents and egos of these two track monsters properly, we can expect Ferrari to have a dominant duo. However, we must also consider two more factors. Hamilton will still need a short but necessary adaptation period to both the team and the 2025 car, and we need to see what approach Ferrari, under Fred Vasseur's guidance, will take for the 2025 season. We believe that now that Ferrari has the right squad, they shouldn't get carried away next season, but instead focus on taking charge of the development era ahead of 2026. If managed correctly, and if advances in design and their new power unit are achieved, Ferrari could enter a new period of domination, much like Mercedes did with the start of the hybrid era, during which they won 7 championships. Ferrari has everything to achieve this. The pieces have fallen into place perfectly for a new era of domination by the prancing horse. If you liked this video, remember to share it with anyone you think will enjoy it. Subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos. That's all for now. See you soon and good race.